Hello, everyone. Welcome us back, actually, to Rule Thirds, your favorite film movie podcast, hopefully. Did I say film movie podcast?
I thought I heard, like, filmy movie podcast.
I'm just going to roll with it. I'm a little rusty with this hosting stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, everyone, welcome back. Today's going to be interesting, because this isn't really the type of movie we usually cover. This weekend, the Maze Runner Scorch Trials came out. You'd think we'd be covering that, because we covered the first Maze Runner, we do the blockbusters and all that, but instead we're actually going to be talking about the latest dark, dismal gangster flick, Black Mass, starring Johnny the Depp, legal name. And so yeah, I'm pretty excited to talk. Larry's here, but Max is not. He has not seen Black Mass.
Yeah,
so it is just two
Larry. I'm Larry, by the way. That's Sean.
I just didn't want it to be whatever. Yes, my name is Sean.
And my name is Larry.
Yes, and so we're going to get this review going, but first we're going to do community segment, and that was me.
All right,
so I just gave myself my own segue.
Nice.
As always. It's always awkward when I'm hosting. It's like, over to you, Sean. Thanks, Sean. So Whitley, this is the film school episode. That was a while ago.
Yeah.
Whitley says he'd make a joke about how we're all in college, but he says at his university, he was in university for 6 years and still doesn't know what to do with his writing aspirations, so he can't make any jokes. Whitley, I'm sure you'll find it. I'm sure. I have no idea. So I'm just lucky enough to still be in college, and hopefully we'll figure it out in a year's time. He says, for advice for you, Larry, he says, have a life outside of school. So
all right, already
save
done.
You stress and pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wants a month of the film club dedicated to Miyazaki, because of course he does. But take that into consideration. Oh, how's the film club idea going?
I'm still doing movie nights in my dorm as usual. I am getting in the motion right now a horror movie month, which is like a campus-wide event that's happening, which is sort of like
cool.
the small steps. About the whole club thing, there are just like a lot of clubs that show movies already, so I need to think of maybe some other angles. But it's in the motions.
Cool. And then finally says film school is confusing. Then again, I stick to watching films more than deconstructing how they work. Here's something that's funny that I found. If you watch a ton of movies, you will find it very easy to deconstruct, and you will find it even easier to construct. Like, I found that to be the case. Like, it's actually pretty easy to piece together a at least serviceable little story, just based on, if you've seen a lot of movies, it's just kind of ingrained. What feels right is just kind of already there. And so I think you'd be surprised, Whitley. You should try to deconstruct some of your favorites sometime and figure out why you like them so much. I don't think it's as hard as you think. I think pretty much anyone can do it if they watch film enough. So there's my advice to you, Whitley, even though you are the one giving advice.
Yeah.
And then Seth, I'm so excited, Seth. You came out with your novel, finally, exclusively in our comment section.
Oh my God. I thought you were being serious for a sec. I was ready.
I know. Anyway, Seth left a really long comment. I can't read it here, but you can go check it out on our YouTube page. It's the Film School episode. So that's it for a community segment. Go play Fantasy Movie League. I've forgotten the past 3 weeks because I'm stupid.
And I got number one 2 weeks in a row.
Because no one else was playing.
Hey, there were some other people playing. Just because you didn't play.
Yeah, Max and I weren't.
Well, that's because you guys are busy people.
Yeah. Anyway, go do that if you want. Go join. Our league is Rule Thirds, and the password is cinemattack. One word, no caps, just cinemattack. So there you go. End community segment.
Yeah.
Now the review. So we're doing the new format. So we're gonna give our mini reviews and scores, and then do not spoilers. Though honestly, for this movie, we're gonna have barely any spoilers. That's kind of a real world story. It's kind of a biopic, so it's kind of it's harder to spoil, but we'll tell you when spoilers happen, but not for a while. So stick around. If you're used to the old format, you don't have to leave anymore. But with that in mind, we are going to do our thesis statements and scores. So Larry, what do you think of Black Mass?
All right. The thing about crime gangster movies for me is that I feel a lot of the time some of these movies tend to fall to this problem where there's a little bit too much dialogue and not enough of anything else, really, not enough variation between that. And I think that unfortunately Black Mass does suffer from this a bit. It's very dialogue heavy. In fact, almost every scene is a conversation. That's not a bad thing necessarily. I'm not implying that this is inherently bad. I'm just saying at times it can feel a little slow, and at times it doesn't hold you as much as it does when there's much more character being developed, and there's much more of a showing, not telling. Basically, is what I'm saying. So in that sense, it does suffer from something. But besides for that, I think it's a very well-made film. I think it's a very interesting first Oscar contender for the year, at least wide release. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I did enjoy myself. And Johnny Depp, by the way, thank God, he's finally back. He gave a fantastic performance in this film, for sure. Definitely a highlight. And that's it.
All right. Well, as for myself, I would say that Black Mass is a good film that could have been really great. And it's one of those weird instances where I was disappointed, but it's such a slight step down. So I'm not, upset about it at all. I'm just a little underwhelmed. And basically what it comes down to me is there's too much of this movie. And too much of it was misguided. I think there is a really interesting story in this movie about an FBI guy who disagrees with his childhood friend's, criminal activity, but uses it as a connection to bring down this other mob. And then the gangster slowly corrupts this FBI agent. Like that's an interesting story, and that's hinted at in Black Mass, and that's what grabbed my attention. Unfortunately, Black Mass was too obsessed with the character of Jimmy, because every gangster's name is Jimmy, right? Yeah,
Whitey James, Whitey Bulger.
Yeah, which is Johnny Depp. They were too in love with this character, and the performance obviously didn't help because it's a great performance, and it's too scattered. It focuses on the wrong thing, in my opinion. It's the problem of the biopic. This feels like a biopic. It goes through the events. It doesn't put in any effort into like crafting it as a good solid narrative like you'd want from a movie. Instead, it just wants to retell events in a cinematic way. And I think that makes it come across scattered, and it dilutes what I think could have been a much stronger, if not more conventional, core film. So I enjoyed it, but it could have been done. I think it could have been amazing. So I'm going to be giving Black Mass a 7 out of 10. It's good. It's not great.
All right.
So
sounds about right.
Now we get into, so as you can see, we're both pretty much in agreement, but we're not going to do spoilers just yet, so you can stick around if you haven't seen it. Look, elephant in the room, Larry. Do we want to just start with Johnny Depp?
Yeah, sure.
The advertising pretty much made it like the only focus is Johnny Depp. The posters, just everything's Johnny Depp.
Yeah, I understand that, and I think it's for a good reason. So I'll just kind of take the lead with this. I've been reading a lot of reviews for Black Mass since I saw it, and there's a lot of different thoughts going around about the character of Whitey and Johnny Depp's performance and the makeup job and whatever. Personally, I think Johnny Depp did a very good job with what he was given. Now, again, I think it's a good idea to separate the performance from what's given. The performance, in my opinion, is exactly what I think Johnny Depp was going for. It was very, very intimidating. Johnny Depp freaked me out, like in certain scenes. It like for real. The makeup job, yes, I can tell it was a makeup job. Was it a little distracting?
Ooh, see, that's why I disagree. I think it looked really good.
Yes, it looks good, but I inherently know it is a makeup job because I know how Johnny Depp looks.
A lot of people have problems with like Looper with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but I didn't. So I guess this is kind of the same thing. Yes, I know it's makeup, but it looks really good. And
it does look really
like
good.
A character, I see the character more than Johnny Depp.
Yeah,
the makeup helped that.
Yeah, and even like just the design, like the character, the hair's done, and the costume design and everything was very good. It definitely felt immersive of the environment. The only thing is, like, I guess Johnny Depp's character was supposed to look like 20 years older than every other character. Was that the idea? Because that's how Johnny Depp looks.
Well, like his wife is like 30 years younger.
Right, yeah. I understand he's with a younger woman, but like him and Benedict Cumberbatch, they look legitimately 20 years apart.
Yeah.
So it's a little distracting in that regard. It's hard for me to believe, oh, wow, these two really are brothers.
But, at the same time, it's undeniable that he was a good casting for this.
Oh my God. Wonderful casting. Super intimidating. He really gets into the character. Also, I just want to address the best scene, in my opinion, one of the best scenes, the dinner scene with Johnny Depp, which is what the first trailer basically revolved around.
The first trailer was pretty much the whole scene, so it's not really
good,
spoilers.
But it was a good trailer, Yeah. I really liked it. I hear a lot of people getting annoyed that it's too much like the Joe Pesci scene from Goodfellas. I've been hearing a lot about this.
I don't think I've seen Goodfellas, actually.
Oh, wow.
I haven't
please
seen
see Goodfellas. It's a wonderful film. But it's like, I'm just sort of getting pissed off about that because I know this is a tangent, but I just want to kind of address it because a lot of people are comparing Black Mass to other films in their review. oh, The Godfather, oh, The
Well,
Departed, oh, Goodfellas, you know, all these films. And I understand that really reviewing films in general does sort of have this basis of comparing it to what you've already seen. But at the same time, we need to talk about Black Mass as Black Mass. You know, that's the most important thing here. And for Johnny Depp, I think he knocked it out of the park. I think he did a great job.
See, on that note, and jumping off the whole Johnny Depp's intimidating, I think the movie did feel like a lot of other movies. I think there are a lot of plot, like, I can't think of a beat that really stood out as unique. And the film kept doing these, like, super intense scenes. You know, someone's getting murdered. Whether it's, you know, Whitey himself choking someone out, or he's shooting people, or one of his gangsters goes and shoots someone in the head. Like, there's like 5 of those instances.
Yeah.
I don't have too much more to say Johnny Depp, so if you don't mind, I'll transition a little bit. I'll just say that was kind of an element that is such a given nowadays. It's an R-rated gangster movie. The shock of seeing someone shot in the head, like, without editing away or anything, it's not there. It's I don't think it's a matter of desensitizing. It's a matter of expectations, and the fact that they kept doing it. You know, they kept having people getting bloodily shot, and it kept feeling like we were supposed to be so disturbed. And yes, it's disturbing since it happened in real life, but in terms of your movie, it felt a bit redundant. And so, yes, Johnny Depp was intimidating, but I don't know how much that really made me feel in the movie, because it kind of felt the same intimidation over and over.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think, like, something like an observation I've been sort of making a little bit as I've been thinking about this movie is that it kind of goes in cycles. It kind of does. It sort of is in a loop. What'll happen is characters will talk. They'll identify a new character, and then at some point, another character, because they think that they've ratted out, will somehow get murdered.
You know, it's almost as if this should have been like a mini series. Now that you bring that up,
yeah, I mean, like, I guess so.
Episode 1 is like them introducing everyone, and Whitey agrees to work with the FBI, and then 2 is the Florida stuff, and 3, you know, like, that could actually have worked better.
Now, that being said, though, I do like the idea that not all of the cast were immediately introduced. That, like, Peter Sarsgaard came later, and that Corey Stoll came later.
Corey Stoll was like, he had like 3 scenes.
Yeah, he didn't have that much to do, but at least he wasn't immediately, like, thrown at your face,
right?
Which was sort of nice.
Remind me of that, by the way, the whole Corey Stoll thing.
Yeah,
that helped me transition to a bigger point.
Okay, I just, like, it goes back to my main point. You know, like The Godfather. I really like The Godfather, very well made film, but part of me just can't get over the fact that a lot of it is just dialogue, and there isn't enough time where we try to enter some new form of storytelling.
Right. So I just want to make clear, because I get what you're saying, but it sounds like, okay, it sounds bad what you're saying. It's like there's so much dialogue.
But yeah, I know.
Right.
I got
what you mean is actions express characters probably more effectively.
Exactly. That's what it's cinema, a lot of showing and not telling. There's a lot of telling, not showing.
With gangster movies, a lot of it is like them just sitting down and just talking about the rat, and I'm not a rat. That's another thing. All the characters felt like, well, look, they're the Boston gangsters. They felt, we've seen them before. Like, Johnny Depp's the only one that stood out to me. Everyone else was just, yeah, I'm the thug, Boston.
Boston.
You know,
pack the
dropping F-bombs everywhere. And again, it didn't. It's not like the film really meant to focus on them, but it's a note, you know?
Yeah, I get that. And I mean, again, the movie doesn't necessarily feel like something brand new, although the idea,
that's kind of why I think that the comparisons to other crime movies, I think, are valid in this case, because I was using this as a segue. A lot of the elements kind of feel the same. Like, we've seen all the gruesome hits, like all these hits scenes were like, oh, someone's being brutally murdered, oh, the panic and the brutality of Johnny Depp in theory would be effective, except, like, I just kept thinking of the ending of Godfather. And there were like 5 hits going out at the same time. And that's so much more effective. And so it does feel like a lot of other movies.
And plus, there's also the church, which kind of adds an even more effective, part of it. But I get what you're saying. And I would like to address both the points that you just made. First of all, about the whole comparison to other movies. And I understand that, again, a lot of opinions on movies, especially nowadays, especially with us, are very timely. You know, they have to do with what we've seen. If someone's never seen a crime film before and they sat through Black Mass, they'd probably get it disturbed them quite a bit. There's a lot of disturbing material in this film to go around.
I don't think that's a like
Yeah, it's not a valid. It's not a valid point to change my grade or anything. I'm not going to use that.
I don't think anyone's really going in like, oh, I've heard about these gangster movies.
Right. Yeah. I will. I'm not going to say it leaps any creative bounds, but I still think that even if something's been done a million times, if it's still done well, it's done well. At least in my opinion.
Sure.
So I'll give it that.
But this wasn't done any better or worse. Like, I'll say that, to be fair. Like,
yeah,
it was not done worse than other crime movies. But again, all the supporting characters kind of felt like the same supporting characters that we've seen before.
Yeah.
The amount of hits, they all kind of felt the same. The basic storyline kind of looped where it's like, is so-and-so a rat? They get killed. Oh, now so-and-so's a rat. They get killed. And like, yeah. So I guess that's why the comparison
I will say, though, I do kind of like the idea of, like, an FBI agent. I know that, like, oh, yeah, FBI agents working with mob bosses. Totally. We've seen that before. But, like, the fact that they were childhood friends, and there's sort of that element of camaraderie there.
Right. We'll definitely come back to that.
Right.
Definitely.
As far as the other point about, like, what I was saying kind of sounded bad, I get that. One of my pet peeves is when someone says, like, there's too much talking, in a movie. I hate that. But
we're not saying have a shootout, because there are no action scenes in this movie.
No, there are action beats. There's no like
violent
scenes. Yes,
like,
exactly.
There are no shootouts with the police or another gang. It's all just someone goes up and kills someone else. So we're not talking give us an action scene.
Yeah.
We're just saying their actions should speak more than just them talking.
Exactly. All right. Like, and just to conclude off, like, there's a lot of okay, I know me and Max have talked about exposition all the time. And I really like to play in exposition's favor, because in my opinion, in some movies it works very well.
Yes.
But here is an example of a film that just has a little bit too much of it, and there's not enough of a show don't tell aspect to any of the other characters. Whitey possibly being an exception. I don't know. You'd have to dissect it a little bit.
He has enough. He's enough of a focus that his actions do highlight more than most. Yeah.
Right, but like the supporting characters,
everyone else is pretty much.
Yeah, we hear it straight out, especially with like Joel Edgerton and with like Benedict Cumberbatch. We know. They tell us straight out, which gets tiring when you have like a 2-hour film. So that's the main
this movie
point.
Could have been a decent chunk shorter, honestly.
Oh, for sure. Kind of.
I mean,
treads
the
along.
Show don't tell. It's almost as if this kind of genre allows it for some reason.
I don't like. I honestly, not including show don't tell things, I never think that any movie should just get away with that. If the movie is just going to tell us everything and just sort of not use visual storytelling to its fullest extent, or at least to an extent, it's not going to work for me.
Sorry, go ahead.
And that's kind of my thing with The Godfather, even sometimes with Goodfellas. I get that the mafia has a lot of talking to one another, it's a lot of communication, but still, you have so many possibilities with this genre to be effective by just showing.
Maybe it's kind of a perfect storm here, because I found a lot of biopics are all talking. Because let's be honest, real life talking is what reveals things, and that's how people work through problems, Mm-hmm. But cinematically speaking, you want actions, and I don't mean action as in action scenes. I mean, like, you want people to act on impulses and act on their desires, and like that's you got to have your protagonist pushing something. It's basic screenwriting stuff,
right?
And so with biopics, a lot of times they do just kind of follow what happened. Like, in real life, not as many actions were taken, so they kind of just have to have these characters talk, and they might be wonderfully fleshed out and wonderfully accurate, but it still feels weak to me, because I want the more cinematic language of show don't tell. And then on the other hand, this whole mafia thing, like you were saying, like apparently Goodfellas has this problem. Godfather, I don't remember as much. I liked Godfather, but I should rewatch it. It was a little while ago. Mm-hmm. And so maybe it's kind of perfect storm. Maybe these two genres lended it, like it gets a free pass from people on both fronts. Like, oh, it's a biopic, so there's going to be more talking than active character choices. Oh, it's a gangster film, there's going to be more talking than active character choices.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that was the case in this.
Yeah, but that's really my only major point that I think holds the film back. But I mean, there are a couple other small details, but in my opinion, that's my only like big point. I do think it's a well-made film. I'm sure that I would be surprised if Johnny Depp wasn't nominated here.
He'll get nominated
for the role. I don't know if he'll win, but I mean, a makeup job, totally new. Feel well. I mean, he's done makeup jobs before, but like this is a new character for him. So I hope he gets nominated. He did a great job, in my opinion.
Definitely.
But anyway, you asked me to remind you about the Corey Stoll thing.
Yes, I think we can move on to my big point.
Yeah, sure.
Which is what I hinted at in just that opening thing. So I'm just kind of going to go more in depth into it. The whole problem of the biopic. Why these movies always kind of fall flat to me is because they do concentrate a lot on here's what happened. You know, like here are the events in real life shown for you, the audience. And that's admirable. You want to represent history. Fine.
That's a lot of this film, to be quite honest.
That's all this film.
Yeah.
And they do the time jumps. They do all this. Like, it's something that kind of just brought up. I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
What role in the story did Benedict Cumberbatch play?
I know what he was supposed to play. I can, you know, and he is the brother. He's the stand-up brother. He's the opposition.
Can you tell me what he did in the plot to affect it?
The only thing I can maybe muster up is his not duality. It's his just his harshness to both Whitey and Edgerton.
But did that affect the plot?
Not really.
Right. See, that's the problem. Why is he there then? Because
he has to be. He's a character. Yeah, he's the character in the story.
And so when I say it can be a lot shorter and it should become, I think I said at the beginning, Black Mass would be much stronger if it got more conventional. And usually that's not really the case. You know, I'm a big proponent of trying to break the rules, see what works, experimenting, all that, to a point, of course. But in this case, like I said at the beginning, what drew me in about this movie was this central storyline that I thought they were setting up. Protagonist, Joel Edgerton's character, right? He's in the FBI. He wants to make a name. He wants to take out the mafia. So he's gonna become an ally with this other gangster that he knows from his childhood. And the gangster wants to do it because he can gain some turf, and FBI guy wants some info. So there's this alliance. And then slowly, over all his events, the gangster kind of, who's the antagonist, by the way, starts to kind of work him. Starts to bring him into his world, the benefits of it. He starts looking the other way, you know, when some shady stuff happens because he's benefiting. And soon it's not even about taking down that other mob. It's about the benefits he gets. He becomes corrupt. And then eventually, of course, he gets brought down for what he did. Right. And the antagonist walks away. He got away with it. The protagonist that was corrupted and the fall from his honorable intentions, he gets put in prison for 40 years. That is technically what happens in Black Mass. Enter spoiler section. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. Again, this is real life. It's kind of hard to do spoilers, but anyway, do you kind of see what I'm getting at? Doesn't that sound like a very interesting film?
Yeah.
Okay. What was 80% of this movie's time spent on though?
Oh wow. Well,
crime. It was just crime.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of works into it. That kind of works into the idea that there wasn't enough character. It was more so just the expositional plot, the details.
Right. And so with their focus onto what happened, I think they missed this core story, its opportunity. It shouldn't be Johnny Depp's movie. As he did great. Okay, he did great. But this should have been Joel Edgerton's movie. It should have been a tragedy. It should have been about corruption. It should have been his fall from grace.
The tragedy of Joel Edgerton.
Yes.
Yeah.
And instead, it's just kind of the more generic crime movie because they wanted to show this character. Apparently, this gangster, what's his name, Whitey Bulger. Whitey Bulger. Apparently, he's inspired tons of movie gangsters. He's apparently really notorious. I don't know gangster history. Sorry. And so I get that they really wanted to put this character front and center. And of course, Johnny Depp killed it, so they'd want to push him even more. I bet in the editing room, they edited to make sure Johnny Depp got as much screen time as possible. And I don't blame them. It was a good choice. But I think overall, the film would have been stronger if it went more conventional. Give us a protagonist, give us an antagonist. Give us that inevitable end. You know what? At the end of the day, I don't care about all this shocking death. And this scene with a girl that was sleeping with one of Whitey's friends, and then she knows too much and they kill her. It didn't change anything. It was just there to show crime, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, I mean, obviously I guess I'm in the minority because it's a very popular film, but I think people, at least, me, I don't find that as interesting anymore. I've seen crime. I've seen this kind of movie, and unless you're doing it unbelievably well, which again, this is done well, but just not exceedingly.
Right.
I think you should try to focus on a more solid framework and a more solid spine of your movie. And so if you cut this down to like 100 minutes, like make it short, it's a decently short feature, I think it would have been much stronger. You know, I don't know.
I get you. I really do. And I think that's especially a good point because now I think the violence is done well, as you said. And in fact, yes. I do think that there are some scenes, in my opinion, which do have some interesting edges to them. For example, we are in the spoiler section now?
Yes.
Officially. When Whitey shoots Sarsgaard with his character, in my opinion, I kind of love just how outright it is. Like, literally, he walks out of the car and he just shoots him. And he, like, leaves. In my opinion, that kind of got me a little bit.
You know what would have worked, honestly, is do the basic 1v1, basic solid storyline, but cut away to the crime. Mm-hmm. Don't make it the full scenes, but if you want to give us those hits just to show what this FBI agent's up against and what he's inevitably going to be okay with, keep them. But I don't need this extra stuff that like builds up to it. It honestly could be more shocking if it just cuts in and he's just shooting a guy. And then it cuts back to the FBI and they say, so-and-so's dead. Apparently he had done this to Whitey Bulger. And so we get the background needed. It's funny, now I'm kind of contradicting myself because I'm saying, ideally, you kind of just tell us that instead of show.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I'm just kind of brainstorming, but I think this highlights a problem of too biopic-y, too unfocused.
Well, basically, I think what you're basically saying is give more character, sort of, in my opinion. And then once you show the character, the crime will be a bit more weighted because we've already seen the human side of the characters, which I totally get. And that's kind of one of the reasons why the last scene of The Godfather, which we mentioned before, is such a great scene.
Yes.
Because we're seeing a human side along with the terrible side, and they're both being intercut together.
Yeah, and it's the editing of that scene.
It's wonderful.
It's great.
Easily, but the best scene.
Watch that tonight. Just that scene. That's great.
Yeah,
scene.
Easily the best scene in the movie, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like the crime is disturbing. Just the idea, like seeing Johnny Depp choke a woman is not something I would do on a Saturday night. When I want to feel good.
And the fact that happened in real life is upsetting.
Yeah. Oh my God, absolutely. And also, I do think the filmmaking techniques that are being used are good techniques.
Yeah, actually,
we linger on his face while this woman is being, choked, and it hits.
Yeah,
dramatically, it definitely hits.
Right, but that's the problem. The execution of this movie is so good. That's why it's a 7. It's a good movie. All this complaining, all this, here's how to do it better. I know, again, that sounds arrogant, but it's basically just me brainstorming how to fix my biggest problem with it. So don't take it like, I could totally make it better.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I'm just addressing like base stuff. I cannot argue with how beautifully shot it is, how well edited it is, any of that. The acting's really good. If the characters aren't given that much, except Joel Edgerton, which ties into the whole he should have been the protagonist, because Whitey doesn't change. As great as Johnny Depp's performance is, and it has ups and downs depending on the situation, so it wasn't a flat performance at all.
Nope.
The character himself didn't change.
Mm-hmm. Nope, not really.
But Joel Edgerton's did. He did go corrupt, and I wanted to see that more. I wanted that drawn out. And so, again, the execution, top-notch. Just top-notch. Acting, great. Cinematography, great. Editing, great. Directing, great. It's just this, it's unfocused.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. And if we could just go back to the acting just a second, I really just want to spotlight Peter Sarsgaard right here. Because, to be very honest with you, he gave me more character just through his actions and scenes than really mainly any of the other supporting characters. I was really surprised. Sarsgaard scares me normally, just his face, honestly, kind of gives off a weird vibe, especially thinking about him from Green Lantern. A little weird. But, make him a drug addict who's a wimp and gets scared, but it also has, mental issues. We're in for an interesting ride. And I think his scenes are very well done, and I think he evoked a really good, honestly, he's my favorite supporting character, and he surprised me so much in this film, which is why I'm bringing it up, as opposed to Corey Stoll, who pretty much plays the most cliche character.
Right. See, and that's the kind of thing why I wanted to help bring that up, because that just kind of highlighted introducing a character that late that just has such an importance as to bring down the entire protagonist's plan. That's on a storytelling level weak.
Mm-hmm.
It's a problem I had with Breaking Bad, where one of no spoilers here, but one of the most important characters of the entire show is killed by a character introduced that season. It was too late. And so here, yes, in real life, this guy did come in, to the FBI, took over the division, and shut this down. That is true, factual what happened. But in terms of movie, Corey Stoll just comes in with like 20 minutes left in the movie and upends everything.
Yeah.
With no build-up. So I wish this movie could have lied a little bit and said, because of something Joel Edgerton did, he's brought in. And so it's kind of his own downfall. And like they could have lied a little bit. We talked about how the books don't matter. We could do an episode on real life doesn't matter. Sometimes.
Well, yeah, you have to put that asterisk there. Like sometimes, again, it's a much more gray. I think we've discussed it in our SML studios where we did a biopic, where we did the biopic about the gold rush. We sort of hit upon some of the details, but it's a very gray area. The whole biopic thing.
If you lied a little bit, whatever.
And I think it's important to kind of mention and acknowledge that it's not easy making a biopic.
No,
really at
not.
all. It's you have to somehow balance having the details there for you, mixing it with some sort of narrative storytelling. Like I haven't even begin to fathom how I would ever make a biopic. Yeah,
honestly, Black Mass just makes me appreciate Rush more.
Oh my god, I have yet to see that film.
You need to, because it is unbelievable how it is completely a biopic. It does the time jumps over like 12 years or whatever. No, not that much, but a long time. It follows two characters. Like there are two protagonists. It does everything that happened in real life. I've read. I mean, Niki Lauda was involved in the production and writing and stuff. One of the main characters is still alive. He was involved. And yet it all feels narrative and it satisfying narratively. Oh, wow. It's not unfocused. So
that's great.
Biopic-itis, whatever it's called. Rush was able to escape. I don't know what they did, but Ron Howard, give me a call. Dude. Explain me your genius. How'd you do it?
Give me the details of your master.
By the way, very excited for In the Heart of the Sea.
Oh yeah, I got a new trailer recently, I believe,
yes.
Didn't it?
Yes.
I have yet to watch it. I should check that out.
That is Whales Are Evil, the movie, so
You're automatically for it. Just like
anyway,
whales are evil.
I digress. Do you have any more points, Larry? I mean, I feel like we got out everything pretty much.
Yeah, I think the last point that I would two very minor points. One, kind of pissed me off how like the time jumps, when they happen, they just sort of happen, and then to fill the time between that, we just get these huge exposition dumps. It kind of annoyed me, but again, you kind of have to do that. But again, it kind of works into the whole bigger ideas that we've been talking about.
Right, and also, like, his son dies. And then
his son dies.
I kind of wanted to see just a little bit afterwards, because the son's not even dead. And then it just jumps ahead and it says, I want to talk to you about this period, after his son died.
Yeah, there's a whole scene that we get beforehand with him and his wife. And it reveals so much about him. And his, sort of duality in a sense.
Yeah, I would have liked to see stuff after. And so some of the time jumps were after crucial events that I would have liked to see in the aftermath of a little more so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and second point, I really liked how at the end when the text comes up and everything, that they stopped the text and then another scene was starting. Mm-hmm. And it was sort of like a brand new scene. I think that's a very interesting way of portraying the future of the biopic, essentially. No, I have not seen another biopic that does that. It kind of made me jump a little bit, because I was like, oh my, whoa, is there something else happening? So that was well done on that regard. But that's pretty much it for Black Mass for me.
Yeah, I also, just as a fun little note, I didn't know he was arrested in Santa Monica.
Oh, I did not know that either.
Yeah, that was said at the very end. Whitey Bulger arrested in 2011 in Santa Monica, and I was there all summer. It's kind of funny. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I was walking the streets of Whitey Bulger. Look out, some of the gangster might have worn off on me.
Oh, boy. Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't think am I pulling it off, Larry? Am I threatening? No?
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Okay, cool. You got it. I guess that does it for us. This was a short review. I'm glad, because we got up the points that we wanted, but we didn't dwell too much. I think this worked really well. Mm-hmm. So that's it for us. Thank you all for listening. Again, I gave it a 7.
I gave it a 7.5.
And we don't really need to restate our thesis.
Yeah, again, the big ideas are really the things that hold our theses together. So
yeah. So thanks everyone for listening. I'm glad. And
what'd you guys think of Black Mass if you saw it?
Yes, let us know Black Mass. Actually, I think the more interesting question is, what kind of biopics do you like, and why do you think like, do you agree about this whole biopic being unfocused? You think it's just kind of a personal taste thing, and it's not inherently kind of a bad story structure? It's just kind of different. I'm not used to.
Yeah. Do you prefer a biopic with more narrative structure, or do you prefer a biopic that sort of sticks to the facts?
Yeah. So, final question: have you seen Rush? If the answer is no, fix it.
Don't comment. Watch the movie, then comment and say yes.
Then comment. So that will do it for us. Thank you again for listening, and until next time, my name is Sean.
And my name is Larry.
And you'll hear us later.